If they ain't cooking, I don't want it.
Welcome back to the Ins and Out with D podcast. I am your host, DT Sensei. Today we are completing the two-part series of Commander's Observation Law discussing both sides of the football. And of course, we already covered the defensive side a couple weeks ago with Joe Witt in this unit. Some of the new guys up there, some of the guys we retained from last year's NFC Championship appearance. So, of course, today we are going to be talking about the many changes and retentions alongside the offensive side of the football and the potential of this unit. We're going by position by position. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, last year with the offense blew the doors off the wall to the NFL and also to this fan base with how creative and how impactful Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury was to this team. Jayden Daniels, of course, was the offensive rookie of the year and completed one of the greatest, by far the greatest rookie season of all time, for being honest with you. And for that to happen to this team, especially the year before with having Sam Howell at quarterback and the many quarterbacks that have been in Washington and not lived up to the standard of what we want at the NFL position, Jayden Daniels just was so outstanding. But so was Cliff Kingsbury. So that marriage is very important with those two coming back into this year. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first position. That is the quarterback position. So Jayden Daniels, obviously we know he's the man with the plan. He returns to his second year as the starting quarterback. And, obviously this offseason, there has been a lot, and I mean a lot, eyes on Jayden Daniels for his rookie year and him being pushed as the face of the league. And rightfully so. I mean, like, you look at what Washington has been in the past couple of years, the NFL clearly wants Washington to be good. And in order for the team to be good, you got to have somebody that's pulverizing. You got to have somebody that all eyes are on, be like, this guy is the dude. And Jayden Daniels was that dude. Jayden Daniels was that dude last year who by far was very spectacular. His play was literally up there with the elite quarterbacks. And the numbers and the statistics and the analytics can prove that to you, that he was by far a top 5 quarterback last year. If anyone want to come up here and debate with me, I'll just show the numbers, dog. Like completion percentage, QB rating, rushing yards per game, scrambles, deep ball accuracy, short accuracy, playing on time, scoring points, Tress Way not putting in almost 3 weeks of football. That's what he was doing at an elite level as a rookie quarterback. And of course, with that quarterback room, you have Marcus Mariota returning to mentor Jayden Daniels again. You also have Sam Hartman, another rookie who was last year, who was in the room as a practice squad candidate. He definitely has a great relationship with Jayden and Marcus Mariota. So that room basically is the same as last year. The only change would be Josh Johnson will be coming in this year in place of Jeff Driscoll. And I think that's a good move also because you have someone who's also very experienced playing with 14 teams, and that room that is still the same. You add another voice in there for guidance. So the room is definitely still the same, but the retention of this, and this is going to be a big topic for a lot of these positions, retaining the people from last year. It brings continuity. It brings understanding what needs to be done. And not only Jayden Daniels come back, but you have guys like the quarterback coach. You have guys like the offensive assistants. The whole offensive side of the ball comes back with Jayden Daniels as the starting quarterback. So I expect Jayden Daniels. I expect Jayden Daniels for those people who want to see a sophomore slump. I don't see a sophomore slump. I think he's going to be even better this year because this will be the second time in his life that he will have the same offensive system and he will spit that easily out, the verbiage and everything. So they can even unlock more plays. That's what's going to be good. So that's the quarterback position. The quarterback position, basically the same. There's no trouble with that, but Jayden Daniels obviously leads the pack. All right, the next group that we will be discussing will be the running back room. Now, of course, with the running back room, there was a lot of discussions in the off season about uh, obviously the main focus for this group apparently was getting another running back to the room to compete with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson for another year. Once again, he has had some injuries and he has finished with at least 700 to 800 yards rushing the past couple of seasons. So the question a lot of people will probably have him is that his max? Is that what the best you can get out of him? Now, of course, we know injuries play a factor as well with Brian Robinson not being able to stay on the field. Your best ability is availability, but we also have seen some games where Brian Robinson's vision wasn't the best, or him not being patient, waiting for blocks to be set up, or sometimes going to the wrong gap or hole. That's where a lot of people grew frustration with Brian Robinson. And of course, when you look at the running back room as a whole, we really don't have a true, and I mean true, home run threat. And now we'll get to one person that got added to this room this off season, but the lack of explosiveness is a deep concern for this running back room. You see it around the NFL. You see like Jameer Gibbs, you see P. John Robinson. Of course, you even see guys like Saquon Barkley playing with Philadelphia. They are very explosive. They have the ability to go 0 to 60 in a matter of seconds. And I think for this room, that's something that we clearly lack. And Brian Robinson, I think, Brian Robinson is a solid football player. Nothing against him, but I think you could have done better. But we're also getting another part of the discussion where we feel like he can have a better year, but it all starts with him being healthy. It all starts with him being healthy, man, and maybe we can see his true maximum. The next player also in the running back room is Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler was a great signing last year. His ability to be not only a rusher but a pass catcher out the backfield, a safety valve for Jayden Daniels in the passing game. You create some screens, specialized checkdowns and stuff like that. That's what Austin Eckler brings to the offense. But of course, he dealt with injuries, and that was the injuries where it's also a concern for him coming from the Chargers. He had a concussion last year. I think he had a concussion multiple times last year, and that's also something with him. Both of these running backs have had injury issues while they were starting. Then the next guy in that room, you will have Jeremy McNichols. Jeremy McNichols was actually a little bit of surprise in the running back room. Probably around this time, I didn't expect him to even make the team. I thought he was just a practice squad guy, but he had a relationship with Adam Peters from his time with the 49ers, and he actually surprised me. His ability to play third down on third down blocking against blitzes and pickups and things like that. Him running the ball, he's a very solid running back as well. He got a little bit of juice. Also filling in some time when Austin Eckler was out as third down back. So Jeremy Nichols returns back in this room as well. Then you have Chris Rodriguez. Chris Rodriguez for the preseason last year, obviously you could see that he was trying to get used to the Cliff Kingsbury offense with the gap scheme and ability to be more patient. And once his opportunity came, we saw some flashes of brilliance of him spelling Brian Robinson in the running game. The Giants game, we saw that in the Titans game. The Giants, the Titans game, and even playing a couple of games down the stretch. So not Brian Robinson, but Chris Rodriguez also returns as well. So just like the quarterback room, this room is basically familiar with each other. But with the one addition that will bring some excitement to a lot of people will be the 7th round rookie out of Arizona, uh, kid Corey Krosky Merritt. He was drafted this year by the Commanders, and he did not play all of his college season last year due to eligibility issues. But when you watch the tape, this kid is very electric when the ball is in his hand. I think he can provide some ability to be some type of home run threat in the backfield, and that's something that they desperately miss. They need some juice in the running game. They need someone that can break all the 20 to 30 to 40, 50-yard runs. That's something we have lacked consistently the past couple of years. Brian Robinson had a 40-yard run. Austin Eckler had a 50-yard run, but it wasn't consistent. And the Corey Krosky Merritt, while there might be some heavy expectations with him, I don't see him as RB1 type material, but I can see him as an RB2 spelling with Brian Robinson. And when we get to this time next year, it'll also be interesting because he will be the only running back that will be on contract with us next year. A lot of these guys are on a 1-year deal. So Brian Robinson is a guy that'll have to, he's in a prove it year. Brian Robinson in a prove it year to prove that he wants to come back to the nation's capital. All right, next up we have the wide receiver room. So the wide receiver room, between the wide receiver room and the offensive line, definitely have boasted some major changes as we discuss these groups. So the wide receiver room, obviously Terry McLaurin is the leader of the pack, and of course, obviously we know there are some contract negotiation issues right now with Terry McLaurin, but I expect I expect them to get the deal done somewhere around between now and the beginning and or the end of training camp with Terry McLaurin. So Terry is the leader of the pack. He's the most consistent player on offense for us. His best year was finally when he had a guy that could throw him open and get him the ball consistently. And the crazy thing about it, Terry and Jada didn't click till like week 3, and that was a Monday night game against the Bengals. We all know that one play that have sparked the season. I would say for Jayden Daniels at the start of his rookie run, but Terry McLaurin returns back as the leader of the pack of this wide receiver room. The next player that we added to go with this room is none other than Deebo Samuels. Deebo Samuels got traded from the San Francisco 49ers to the Washington Commanders. And when you think about all the things you can do with Deebo, it's very perfect. It's such a perfect fit to be over here because there was a lot of plays by a couple of players that we had last year, such as Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown. They were doing some tunnel screens. They were doing jet sweeps, bubble screens, and other type of plays like that. Those were all Deebo plays, and Deebo provides the best versatility, and he will be the wide receiver 2 for us. He's a wide receiver 2 / gadget player. You can put him in the backfield, put him in the slot, put him outside, jet sweeps, toss plays, counter plays, reverses. Just putting the ball in Deebo's hand is going to be what's scary against teams. Now, of course, with the 49ers, I think the biggest benefit will be for him coming to Washington is that for the 49ers, they had a lot of other options. They had a Christian McCaffrey. They had a Brandon Ayuk who had a career year a year before he got paid. They have a Juwan Jennings, a guy who had his best year this year when a lot of guys were out. They drafted Ricky Pearsall, who, although there are some slight injury concerns because he got injured during the OTAs sessions, I believe, with a strained hamstring or some sort, some leg injury. But they invested a first round pick in him. George Kittle is still there. So they have a tremendous amount of weapons with the 49ers. And Debo had his best year in 2021. Then every other individual player had their best years, of course. Now, coming to Washington, who else is that intimidating other than Terry McLaurin? That other than makes you get worried, like, hey, we gotta get 17 locked down. Of course, some people gonna say, Terry McLaurin don't scare them, but as long as Terry does what he's supposed to do, that's what matters. But with Debo provides an element that we were doing last year, but it'll be much, much more explosive. Like I am I'm very confident that Debo is going to have a crazy season for the Washington Commanders, and I'm very excited for what he can do with this offense. Very excited what he can provide with Terry McLaurin, because Terry McLaurin has never had a guy who had anything close to what Debo has put out the past couple of seasons. Like I'm very hyped even talk about Debo right now. All right, to discuss the other people in the room, we have Noah Brown returning last year, who was on pace for 700, 800 yards last year. He was very reliable for Jayden Daniels as a pass catcher. That he's one of the tallest receivers on the team, about 6'2". Of course, as an Ohio State fan, I know him very well. He provides a body to the room. He's very reliable. He makes the hard and tough catches, just like Terry McLaurin. Just he doesn't have that big speed like Terry can do, or what Debo can provide. But as a possession receiver in this offense, that is something that Jayden needed. And you can go back and look at the tape last year. He was very reliable for Jayden Daniels. So also we look at the room as well. Jamison Crowder is gone. He's a free agent. Alonde Zacchaeus leaves and signs with who signed with the Bears, and De'Ami Brown, after his playoff performance, he signs with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you lose three guys in the room, and the next guy up after Noah Brown will be Luke McCaffrey. So Luke McCaffrey last year was drafted in the third round from Rice. He was a converted quarterback to a wide receiver. So he's still learning the position, but if you also watch the tape on him, there was a lot of times he was open and just Jayden, didn't look his way, or Jayden missed by probably this much. I think this is a year when you see guys that are young, and we'll talk about another guy up here as well that takes the next step in their development and elevate their play. I think Luke McCaffrey has the ability to provide some security blanket type catches and ability for Jayden Daniels. Playing the slot, he can also play a little bit outside. They had some trick plays last year as well. Luke, we need Luke to step up because there's no Jamison Crowder, there's no Zacchaeus, and there's no De'Ami. That production needs to be replaced. And realistically, I know the top three that I just named can do it, but can Luke provide something as well in that room? Luke McCaffrey, he has the speed. He understands coverages. He knows where to sit in the zone, play as a former quarterback. And we saw some of those flashes last year. But I think it also hinges on Jayden Daniels trusting him more too. Does Jayden has that trust right now with Luke that he can go to him in those more crucial situations? We'll find out when we hear more from the training camps, and we'll see in the regular season. So of course we named the guys that we lost, but we also added another guy in that spot at the wide receiver position. But this person, we added him last year, and that was KJ Osborne. So KJ Osborne was signed late last season during the playoff run, or getting to the playoffs. And he was a guy that's interesting. And for those who follow Red Zone the Lab, aka Deuce, Deuce is very high on this guy. From watching him at his time at Minnesota, he was the wide receiver 3 for the Minnesota Vikings and has some great production. Then he goes to New England and from my understanding, there was some type of injury, but then there was a lot of questions about, oh, they didn't think he was this athletic, or this and that. It was a bunch of rumors and stuff like that. But I'm actually intrigued by KJ Osborne because this is a room that really lacks a lot of options, and there is a possibility that his name can be called up earlier than expected to rotate with Noah Brown. And he has some speed. You watch him from Minnesota. He made big catches, yards at the catch as well. So KJ Osborne is another eye to keep on in the wide receiver room for the Commanders. And we did draft another guy this year from Virginia Tech. That's Jalen Lane. Jalen Lane, he is one of the fastest players from the NFL Combine this year. Ran a 4.35. Very explosive athlete. Can play punt returner as well. So provide some punt return for our special teams to score, and for the speed that we're going to be missing without De'Ami Brown, added Jalen Lane. Uh, there's literally no worries right now with what he can do. I think he's going to have a spectacular rookie year with Jayden Daniels at the helm at quarterback. Jalen Lane, uh, McCaffrey, and KJ Osborne, those are some guys that you feel like if they're in the room, they can get some opportunities in this offense. And one name to watch as an undrafted rookie in the wide receiver room is Shakori Brooks, the rookie out of Louisville. Also played at Alabama when Bryce Young was there. He's another guy that can go up and get the football. Um, very, very solid wide receiver. So how do I think about this room as of right now? I still have a little bit of questions about the wide receiver room, but I think because of Jayden Daniels, he can elevate the room to the best of his ability, and they'll be, I think they'll be fine this coming season, heading to training camp. The next group will be the tight ends. Now, if we're being honest with you, the tight end room does not change at all. The tight ends all return from last year. You have Zach Ertz, who was Jayden Daniels' most reliable target in crucial situations as well. You have John Bates returning. He signed a 3-year deal. He was by far one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. So you had to get somebody that could help block in the run game, in the passing game, as well. And they also drafted Ben Sinnott last year in the second round. Now, the same way how I was talking about Christian McCaffrey, here's the conversation with Ben Sinnott. Because Ben Sinnott was drafted in the second round out of Kansas State, and a lot of people already had, in their mind that he was going to be the tight end of the future. And he can still be the tight end of the future, if we're being honest with you. But I think for him, it was a reality check for him as a rookie, understanding that the NFL game is by far different, learning how to prepare as a pro, learning blocking assignments, blocking in an entirely different offense from what you did in college, even though the offense that he came from, there are some things they did in Cliff Kingsbury offense. But Ben Sinnott, Ben Sinnott is somebody that we're going to need some production from to help provide for Jayden. Because if you look at the one play in the preseason, he was able to get yards at the catch. He was able to block, and he was able to get yacked. And that's something that we need from the tight end. We lack a yak guy, and that the only guy that could be a yak guy is Ben Sinnott. So Ben Sinnott is somebody that I'm expecting to at least get some improvement in his second year. All right, we're going to be talking about with the offensive line. So the offensive line has also had a big makeover in that room. So we will discuss. So last year's offensive line, they exceeded expectations. Added 3 guys to the offensive line last year. That was Brandon Coleman. We drafted in the 3rd round. We added Tyler Bionis from the Dallas Cowboys as a free agent, and we also added Nick Allegretti from the Kansas City Chiefs as starting right guard. And Coleman was playing tackle last year, and of course, Bionis was the center. So this year, this offensive line has had an extreme makeover because The Commanders realized that you have to win in the trenches. And just the same way how I talked about the defensive line in the last episode, this offensive line was all about trenches. And to start off with the big trade, obviously this offseason they did traded for Larry Tunzel out of the Houston Texans. That was probably the biggest surprise trade that we all like with Debo. We all kind of felt like they were going to get Debo, but Larry Tunzel came out of nowhere, and you're getting arguably a top 5 to 10 offensive tackle in the National Football League to block for Jayden Daniels to protect his blind side. But not only you do that, you also make something that was at least solid, but you can get the true potential out of Brandon Coleman. While Brandon Coleman did fairly well last year at left tackle, you can do absolutely better. And Brandon Coleman will now be shifting to left guard from as NFL draft gurus had projected him to be. And if that is what you saw out of Brandon Coleman at a left tackle, I expect that to be the floor as him as a guard, as someone was said on the podcast. This offensive line just got better because now you're shifting guys to the best spots. You have Larry Tunzel at left tackle. Brandon Coleman will be projected as the left guard starter. Then you have Tyler Bionis at center. So the only question mark you will really have is the right guard spot with Sam Cosby. Who fills in the spot for Sam Cosby? Because Sam Cosby is hurt as of right now. He's rehabbing from the torn ACL from the Detroit game in the playoffs. You have some options though. That's what makes this very good. You have Nick Allegretti. You have Trent Scott. You have Chris Paul. And you also have Andrew Wiley, who can shift inside and play guard just like at his time with the Kansas City Chiefs. So as of right now, from what I've seen in OTAs and stuff, I'm going to put Allegretti as a projected right guard starter until Sam Cosby gets back. But then the next spot is we drafted a rookie and Chris Connolly, the rookie left tackle out of Oregon. He will be projected as a right side protector for Jayden Daniels. And you just look at this front five already. We just made this offensive line that was solid to a strength. We were reestablishing the line of scrimmage from the days of old. We know with the Hogs, that's what helped them win Super Bowls. And in order to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a strong defensive line, you got to have a strong offensive line. And not only will this offensive line improve in pass protection, and in the run game, it'll also allow our tight ends to be used more in the passing game because a lot of them were doing a lot of chipping and things of that nature. So the offensive line has a huge makeover. Then you also look at the depth. They signed guys like Foster, Sorrell. They signed Bobby Hart, just to name a few. Herndig. So they added guys to the offensive line. The offensive line has greatly improved. Okay, so let's go ahead and do projected starters for the offense. So let's go ahead and start. My projected starter, obviously, at quarterback will be Jayden Daniels. Starting running back will be Brian Robinson. RB2 will be Austin Eckler. Then RB3 will be Jeremy Nichols, and RB4 will be Krosky Merritt. Now, Krosky Merritt also has a great potential if the season goes along as expected. He picks up the play, but I expect him to overtake and become the RB3 or 2 to spell Brian Robinson. So do not be surprised about that. Wide receivers, you have Terry McLaurin, your wide receiver 1. You have Debo Samuel, wide receiver 2. Noah Brown, wide receiver 3. You're starting 3 wide receivers. Then your backups will be Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, and also KJ Osborne. Have KJ Osborne right now as projected rosters. Tight end Zach Ertz as your starting tight end, and then you'll have a mix of John Bates and Ben Sinnott as the tight end too. Then we get to the offensive line. I have Laramie Tunzel, left tackle, Brandon Coleman, left guard, Tyler Biotic, center. I have projected starter as of now, Nick Allegretti as your right guard. But then as the season gets back, we will have Sam Cosby coming back strong from injury. And your right tackle starter will be Josh Conley, the rookie out of Oregon. And even if we talk about the offensive line a little bit further with this projection, your depth has gotten extremely better. So you have guys that can plug in and play all over the offensive line. All right, guys. So with that being said, that's all I have for y'all today. We just completed the two-part series of the offense and the defense. For more you want to watch, just go ahead and watch the first episode for the defense and give me your thoughts of how you feel about some of the players and what the ceiling and the floor is. And also click like and subscribe to this channel and talk about this episode. What do you think are the ceilings and the floor of this offense that we just discussed? So with that being said, I will catch you guys next time. It is the Ins and Out of the Beat podcast with your boy DT Sensei. Catch y'all later.
If they ain't cooking, I don't want it.